Before we begin, I'll address the relatively recent news that Kishimoto's taken over Boruto. The truth of the matter is, I don't care. I really don't care. Now that that's done, let's move on. So where we last left Bleach, Aizen had been defeated for good and it seemed all was wrapped up. Ichigo had lost his Soul Reaper powers and thus returned to normal life. What was there left to do? Apparently a lot, as Koopa said he felt he still had another 10 years left in him. Oh boy. But for many, this arc was the last straw, as people jumped off Bleach in droves during this story. This was also, until next year, the very last arc to be animated. The anime stopped here as they were basically 2 weeks behind the manga, and rather than doing more filler, they just canceled the series due to Bleach's declining popularity. Let's get right into it. Here we begin the Fullbringer arc of Bleach, or is it the Lost Agent arc? Says here it's the Lost Agent arc. It's been nearly 2 years since the battle with Aizen, and Ichigo is now a senior in high school at the age of 17. So it seems we're settling into a back to normal feeling for Bleach. What I will say about the time skip is, these are some of the laziest redesigns I've ever seen. I know 15 to 17 years isn't much of a difference, but look at Naruto's progression. There's a clear distinction to how old he is in each design. Here, Kubo really did the bare minimum. At this point, Ichigo's gotta start thinking about what he wants to do after he's done with school, but instead he's much more concerned about seeing Rukia again. Come to think of it, why does Kubo keep having Rukia make these big dramatic returns? Why can't she just stick around? Ichigo claims he's happy to have a normal life, except honestly, for the most part, I don't remember Ichigo ever yearning for a simpler life. This little bit of characterization is odd. I guess I'm misremembering things, but it wasn't as pronounced as Peter Parker. He still can't help helping people in need because that's just who he is. But of course things aren't going to stay normal for very long. So anyway, this new girl, Ikumi, basically adopts Ichigo in broad daylight. Are they going to call the cops on this? So we get introduced to more new characters. Of course, like I said, Kubo doesn't introduce a new character, he introduces a whole group of them. They have plans for Ichigo. Oh joy. The new group is Execution. You mean Execution, right? Well, that's pretty apt considering this series is so poor at it. Basically, as it turns out, Chad hasn't been coming to school lately. So is Kubo finally going to make up for the blatant negligence of Chad, who is supposed to be one of the main characters at long last? Of course not. Anyway, Execution wants to get Ichigo to regain his Soul Reaper powers. Here Ichigo meets Chad. It turns out Chad is a Fullbringer. Apparently Ahalla's lost heart becomes a mask. I'm seriously getting Kingdom Hearts vibes for this. Maybe I should rethink my future Kingdom Hearts' Naruto video. Basically, they were born between a Soul Reaper and a human, like Ichigo, and they want to pass on their powers to humans so they can be normal. Alright then, Ichigo agrees to get his powers back. So Ichigo undergoes some training to unlock his Fullbringer power, which involves fighting a giant pig, which is just surreal. Then again, this is shonen. It turns out Rukia is obsessed with dolls. Reminds me of Serena from Pokemon. Chad finally gets to actually do something as he warns Ichigo that he needs his deputy badge to be able to fight back. But 15 minutes pass and the doll goes into berserk mode. I must say I really do like Girgo. I like his design. Like a British gentleman, but with an eye patch. His Fullbring ability is Time Tells No Lies. Okay then. Well, what he means is that Ichigo and the person stuck in the doll will die after 30 minutes pass. That's unfortunate. Chad tells Ichigo that in order to get what he needs to access his Fullbringer power is pride. Pride, a deadly sin. The message is good. Chad is telling Ichigo that he's essentially proud of who he is, and that Ichigo should be too. With these words, Ichigo is able to gain access to his Fullbringer power, which is like a cross, but it gives Ichigo some versatility. So Ichigo has passed the test, but as he heads out, he hears Rukia's voice. Now why is that? Orihime is attacked by Mo.
Ah yes, rusty and dull.
Not that Mo. Well, I will say I do like Orihime's demeanor here. She has her good moments, and this is much better than she was in the Arrancar arc. But the one who really attacked Ishida was this man, Tsukishima. But Ichigo and Chad sense that Orihime is under attack, and thus rush off to save her. Orihime isn't harmed, and she covers up what happened, mostly because she doesn't want to worry Ichigo. So now Ichigo decides to keep undergoing training, and meets Jackie Tristan. Ah, like Jackie Chan. There are some obvious hints that there's something sinister to these Fullbringers. I could have told you that. Ichigo activates his Fullbringer powers, and it looks exactly like his Soul Reaper form. But Ichigo figures out that these guys were behind the attack on Orihime, so he attacks. Gee, who could have seen that coming? Ichigo's clearly not used to this form, but Jinjo comes to his aid. Ichigo passes out but wakes up in another hideout where he is told that he has to do more training. Boy, this whole arc is training. Typically, training happens off panel to speed up the pace, but then again, this is Kubo. He has no idea what pacing is. At this point, it feels like this arc is mostly building up to something. It better be good. Oh, now we're going video game with the training. I guess that's something. Come on, Kubo, just have something happen. So Orihime and Chad come to Ichigo's aid, and they say they knew he'd get his fighting spirit back. That's nice, I guess. I guess Kubo's trying to make up for spectacularly failing Orihime in the previous arc. So finally, some things are happening. Hopefully, any moment now. Jinjo is training Ichigo, lecturing him about how to dodge! But the purpose of the fight is clear, as it allows Ichigo to fully awaken his Fullbringer powers. Not sure I feel the look, but I guess it's okay. Looks kind of like a skeleton. I guess that's the point, though. What I do like is that we're trying to get back to early Bleach's sense of humor. I do like his sword. Reminds me of Link. Somewhat. So Ichigo comes home to his beloved sisters, only to find Tsukishima waiting for him. Okay, you ever see that panel of Darkseid sitting on Mary Marvel's couch? Kinda like that. What's really troubling is Ichigo's family treats him as though he's always been their friend. In fact, all of his friends treat Tsukishima like he's always been part of their lives. Ichigo panics. Jinjo tells Ichigo that all of his friends were attacked by Tsukishima. This is really tense, and it really feels like we're finally getting that payoff we've been waiting for. Tsukishima can manipulate people's memories if he's cut them. That's really interesting. Like Naminé from Kingdom Hearts. Oh, I did it again. Go check out my Kingdom Hearts videos so far. So Ichigo goes all out, but Orihime and Chad come to Tsukishima's aid. Even though they have been led to think that he is their friend, now, if Ichigo kills him, he will bear the risk of being shunned by his friends, and this breaks Ichigo's spirit. He can't bear to fight his friends. Kubo, you're doing it. You're pulling through. Jinjo sacrifices himself to spare Ichigo from being cut, but he takes it from the front so he's safe. But then, as Ishida reveals, it was actually Jinjo's doing all along. Oh man, this is so good. Ichigo is so broken. How's he gonna rise from this? This is so... Or Rukia can show up out of nowhere and give Ichigo back his Soul Reaver powers as a Deus Ex Machina. I don't know if I'm quite at the mental breakdown yet, but... Oh, we're getting there. Well, what I will say about Rukia's design... I liked her old look better. Rukia reminds Ichigo that Tsukishima can't erase his future, and then the rest of the captains come to Ichigo's aid. We're going back to this, are we? Yeah, this is supposed to be a hell yeah moment, but instead it just means that we're back to standard Bleach. Basically, all the captains owed Ichigo a debt, which is a nice sentiment. Ichigo changed Yamamoto. Funnily enough, I don't think I remember Ichigo and Yamamoto sharing one meaningful moment together. Maybe I'm misremembering. Turns out Jinjo was the first Deputy Soul Reaper, which I think does give Jinjo a nice parallel to Ichigo. Also, everyone who's here is somebody whose life was changed by Ichigo, except Hitsuguya. He's there because he's popular. Most of the fights with the Fullbringers are over before they even begin. Renji actually wins a fight. There's no good footage of Charlie Brown kicking the football, so I will instead play this. You'd have a very low opinion of Sasuke. Tsukishima is rather anticlimactically defeated by Bakuya. Ichigo has changed the Soul Society, they say. It's not as stubborn anymore. Except, how is it better? My biggest problem here is that we were telling how Ichigo changed the society, not showing how he did it. Ichigo rather anticlimactically defeats Jinjo. Yeah, that happened. So we have some wrap-up. Fullbringers are redeemed, for some reason. Tsukishima didn't know how to live without Jinjo, but it's okay now because he realizes he's not alone. So some things happen and the full body agent arc comes to an end, and the only thing I can say is, that's it. That was your big follow-up to the Deicide arc. This whole arc just felt like it was building up to something grand and epic. It was like Kubo was addressing the pacing issues that plagued the previous arc. We finally get to see Ichigo at his lowest point. It was so genuinely good. Probably the most I've enjoyed Bleach since the Soul Society arc. But then Rukia and the captains show up and it's all resolved incredibly quickly. While the idea to flesh out Jinjo as Ichigo's parallel, Kubo didn't do anything interesting with it. Ushida, Chad, and Orihime were once again useless. Apparently Kubo claimed that this arc was Chad's day in the limelight, except no, he barely did anything. I'm still questioning why he's billed as a main character. I mean, I get the Fullbringers are intended to be neutral characters, but they feel so inconsequential. Do they come back in the next arc, or are they forgotten about? From what I understood, Kubo said this year is particularly hard on him, which may have contributed to this arc not delivering. It has the opposite problems as the Arrancar arc. While that arc seriously wore out its welcome, this arc just ends before it really has a chance to get going. So once again, Bleach it had solid concepts, but the execution was just off. Well, I guess we're done for today. Shorter video than normal, but there's really not much to say about this arc. It just kind of happened. And for many, it was the final nail in Bleach's coffin. Bleach's time was up. It was now time for it to end. So join me next time for the finale of this Bleach retrospect with the 1,000-Year Blood War. I've heard many consider it worse than Naruto's war arc. But also, before I go, I'd like you to meet Hector, my new kitty. Thanks for climbing on me while I'm trying to edit videos, Hector. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that bell, like, and subscribe button. If you want updates, follow me on Twitter or join my Discord, which are provided in the description below. See you next time.